All right, welcome back. It's Knoxville Nights. I'm Josh Gerlach. I'm here with Kade Higday, Blake Walker. We're back to talk about some more sprint car racing at the Knoxville Raceway. We, over the weekend, saw a couple repeat winners. Brian Brown took home his second straight 410 win, and so did Jake Hinder in the Pro Sprint Series. And then Jamie Ball, one of our guests. That's two guests here in the last week that we had that won. So if you want to win, come on the Knoxville Nights podcast. But Jamie picked up his first win in the 360s of 2025. And then we're going to be joined by one of the Matt Moro 2M drivers, Ryan Giles, another guy that's had a lot of success at Knoxville Raceway in the 360 class. It was a fun chat with Ryan. So he would say that he's not the most chatty guy in the pit area, but kind of peeled back the curtain on Ryan. I had a really good conversation with him. Make sure, if you have not already, hit subscribe. If you're watching or listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, you can search for it at Knoxville Nights. Same with Facebook and Instagram, or you can search for Knoxville Nights with no O on Twitter or X and give us a follow there. Would really appreciate it. Leave us a review and also hit like the 5 stars in Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It'll help more people see and hear this. All right, Kade, we had 2 cars out over the weekend. May not be the best night of the year so far. So, Blake, do you want to kick us off and kind of go through Kade's weekend?
So Kade Higday this weekend qualified 18th in the 410. He went 10th to 9th in his heat race, and he went 15th to 14th in the B main. Kade Higday joins the show. Welcome to the show, Kade Higday. Handling looked like a struggle all night long for you. We'll talk about the track a little bit here, but were you kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit? Practice, you hadn't got to practice a lot. You've had the crash and hot laps. You just haven't been in the car a lot. And I think, a couple things, the car kind of driving a different way, kind of not helping you out. What last night looked for you, or what was it like last night for you in the 410?
I think the biggest problem right off the bat was just we don't really have a baseline. Like you said, we don't really have any laps in that thing, and it's hard to kind of guess what you need to do. And I don't have a ton of 410 experience, so it's kind of a learning curve for us. And we tried some different stuff last night, and it very obviously didn't work. We were terrible all night, and yeah, just wasn't very good, and I don't really know where we need to go. I might need to call for some help and try to figure out if I just can't drive race cars or what the deal is.
And does that go back to you have had some experience in your own 410, not very much. I'm guessing that the cars are probably pretty different from Mike's setup versus your own, and maybe doesn't translate as much, or is it just you don't really have a very thick notebook, and that's really what it comes down to?
No, we've just got no notebook. I mean, the year that I ran my 410 in my own car, it was kind of like we were off of a really big high with the 360 Nationals because we had a really good run in the B main and ended up blowing up a motor racing for a transfer. So we kind of had that high confidence, and it was just kind of just let's go do it. And it was obviously on the biggest stage. Our first night was our prelim night at the Knoxville Nationals, and you just kind of got to just go send it. And yeah, it was just, I think a lot of that success was honestly just having my own stuff and having at least a decent notebook from the 360 just kind of to build off of. And yeah, we have no notebook right now. And we kind of have an idea after last night. We tried some stuff for the B, and it didn't work at all. So we're going to try some different stuff and hopefully get it a little bit better.
Well, let's just talk about the track because it'll kind of lead into other 360 stuff. But tell us about it. We had, for those that didn't watch or obviously aren't here in the state, windy week, not a lot of rain, but very windy on practice night, on Friday night practice night. It was a track rental night. Track never took rubber, but also kind of a thing for 360, and we'll talk about that. But what was the track state like from up in the booth, and then from what we kind of saw on the track? Felt like a lot of guys were just stuck. There just wasn't really, like, it was racy, but not a lot of passing, it felt like, and you're just kind of stuck. Was it it was very sketchy, looked very sketchy. And you know that you had a lot of, oh shoot moments over there in the 410, and you could talk about that. But just a lot of, was it sketchy? Was it glued? Just a very different track surface last night.
Yeah, it was weird. It looked like it had grip in a lot of places, and it never really did. I think a lot of it was like the track was so hard, and it just kind of got dirty, and it looked like grip. Like at the start of the 360 feature, I thought, oh, hell yeah, we're going to have a middle to work with. And then I slid myself one time and it wasn't there. And I was like, oh boy, it's false. Yeah, it was weird. The cushion was really curvy and like you said, we had a couple of oh shit moments and definitely about junked a couple of race cars last night and just got really lucky that we got out of there with both cars in one piece and made it home safe.
360, you drew a 20 again, second straight week of drawing a 20, but a lot of other guys drew smaller numbers in front of you, and they just so happened to be fast cars. I mean, Jamie Ball, Ryan Giles, a couple other guys. Qualified 12th. I know you probably want a little bit better. You could talk about qualifying here. Obviously, you guys are the last ones out. Third to third in the heat race. Nothing to go at past that. But then 15th to 15th in the A main. Again, just stuck, would you say? I mean, it was a weird track surface. Give us a rundown of how the night went here for a 360.
Yeah, the pill draw is no longer an excuse for me. I qualified in the second group last night. I think we were the fourth or fifth car out. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but second group regardless. Yeah, to qualify 12th was there's no excuse for that really. We definitely struggled and need to get better at that. That's kind of been our downfall so far this year is we can't really get qualified that great, and that's what sets your whole night up. Definitely need to work on that and definitely need to set ourselves up better for the feature. Not so much the heat race because the invert's so much bigger, but yeah, it's qualifying's everything, and we've been absolutely terrible at it.
Which is odd because that's been a strong point or a strong suit of yours. I'd say the last few years, even in the 305s, obviously, and especially in your championship year, you kicked ass there. What do you think is the cause of that? I mean, you probably have it fixed if you knew, but yeah, like what kind of vibe is it when you're kind of off from what you've been doing in the last few years?
Yeah, that's frustrating. I mean, we're typically a top 3 or top 5 for sure car in qualifying, yeah. And we're on a little bit different engine package and different cars this year, but I mean, it all kind of boils down to one thing, and that's the thing that's in between the frame rails. All the cars are just cars, it seems like. There's some different stuff, but nothing that would really throw you off in qualifying. So we'll definitely make some changes and hopefully be a little bit better. It's just really aggravating when you go from being a top 3 to top 5 car in qualifying and you're struggling to even crack the top 10 anymore.
I think a big part of it too is that also is a testament of the fields that you have at Knoxville now every week too. And it kind of ties into the next thing here in the A. Blake, you touched on it a little bit. You did kind of just seem like you were stuck in place. I think you faded back a little bit early on. Don't know if you got the best of starts. And then, kind of stuff was kind of broken up with some cautions and reds and whatnot. But how tough is it in the dirty air on a tricky track to know where to go and not get yourself hung out to where you lose 3 or 4 or 5 spots off the bat and you're chasing from the very beginning?
It's terrible. I mean, if you listen to the Drivers Project, you hear Dominic and JJ and those guys talk about how, like, at the Outlaw shows, from 10th to 15th, you got to race harder than if you're running top 5. And that was exactly what it was like last night. Like, I drove my balls off just to finish 15th. And it's like, what is going on here? It didn't really seem to matter, like, if I ran the top or the bottom. It was just like everywhere that I went, there was a car that was faster in the other lane that was either keeping up with me or passing me, or if I would pass one car, the next car was equal. And it was just really hard to pass cars last night. And it's aggravating when you think you should have a car that is faster than that. And like both lanes last night I was pretty good in, but we just kind of hit a roadblock everywhere we went as far as the next car after the car that I passed. So it was hard to make it through the field. And I don't know where Garner finished last night, but yeah, so he didn't make it up super far either. So that kind of shows what the track was like, and it definitely was weird for sure.
Because it wasn't like one lane dominant either. It was like both lanes were very equal, and you saw that late in the race because Ryan couldn't get around Jamie there. That's what I was going to ask. Is it was, could you feel that? And I think you kind of were alluding to it there.
Yeah, absolutely. Both lanes were very equal. Like the bottom was just wide enough that you could run it really hard, and the top was so far around and so curved up that yeah, both lanes were damn near equal, and it was fun to race, but when you start 15th, it's not very productive.
Do you think, with a couple weeks in, we see some guys, they'll catch the invert right, and then they start on the front row, and then they can just take off. And there's some guys, they'll start on the front row and they just kind of drop, and you just tell their car's not quite there. Do you have confidence that, say, next week you qualify well, everything else, you catch that invert, you kind of start near the front, at least top 3 or 4, you feel confident enough that despite being stuck in the middle of the pack the first couple weeks, you still have a car that can easily compete top 5 wise?
Yeah, absolutely. If we get qualifying better, there's no doubt that we can win races. We just gotta start the night off right and make the feature a little bit easier for us. We've started, I think, 9th twice and started 15th, and you just can't win races from those spots easily. You got guys like Tasker and some guys like that have proven that you can win from a little bit further back, but especially last night, it was just not really a productive night to start 15th and try to put a show on.
Right. Well, thanks for your input there for the first 2 races, or the cars last night. We appreciate it every single week. And we'll hope for better, man. Obviously, got to keep rolling here. I think you're 9th in points, so, still a lot of room to grow. I know that 9th through like 5th or 6th is like right under a blanket, like 300 some points back. So,
yeah,
we'll hope for the best. Shares the weeks keep going, and we'll see what happens. So, our pro sprints in action last night. No Brett Moffitt. That was kind of a fun little drama thing this middle of the week. Brett Moffitt, obviously with an average finish of 1.5 in his 2 starts, he won and finished second. I was like, all right, here we go. He's 10th in points. He tweeted out sarcastically that he was like, well, we got fired this week. Just tough, siding guy just didn't let me get it back. And a lot of people were like, in the comments were like, oh my gosh, he got fired. He had an average finish of 1.5. What in the world does Matt Allen want? And then Brett had to come back out and say, guys, it really wasn't a plan to go that many races. It wasn't a full season commitment. Originally, it was just, we're going to run a couple races, just have fun. It was surprising not to see Matt Allen at all last night. I thought for sure we'd see just Matt Allen back in the car, but no 17 last night. Mike Mayberry was not there after the collision with Tyler Thompson last week. Obviously had engine issues. I tried to go back. I don't know the last time Mike Mayberry didn't race or just didn't show up for a pro sprint race. So very tough. And then Matthew Stelzer was not there, had engine issues, but he was watching online. I do know that because he texted me in the middle of the race. But just interesting to watch, Kade, that we'll talk about Jay Kinder here, but just like that, second place is almost 300 points back behind Jay Kinder. Jay can't celebrate by any means. There's still a long way to go. But originally it was like, if Jay has one bad week, he's probably in trouble. I think Jay can have 2 bad weeks and still be okay just by a hair here. And that's just a testament to how good that car's been.
Yeah, if he has a couple bad weeks, he could have a bad month and come back with the speed that he has right now, and he'd still be fine. There's nothing that's going to touch that thing unless the siding guy hires Moffitt back and lets him rip some laps off. Yeah, definitely. If they didn't catch the sarcasm by Brett calling him the siding guy, they weren't going to get it anyway.
You know what the best part about Brett coming back is ever since he won that race, he's more active on social media. I don't know what it is, but he hadn't tweeted for like a year, and then he comes back and he was tweeting about the truck race, the truck ending. I'm like, yes. I was like, this is what we need. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brett in a 360 or something this year. Like someone's going to get him in a car again. They have to. I mean, he was just very fun to watch. But yeah, no 17. I hope to see it back this week. Toby Mosier goes quick time by 3/1000ths of a second over Jay Kinder. That's Toby Mosier's second quick time, so they clearly got something figured out. He finished third in the A feature. Cody Hildreth picked up the win in heat number 1. Luke Lane picked up heat number 2. Kade, I just wanted to ask you about this. Cody Hildreth obviously does his recaps, and I was watching the one that he did last night. It was on his car on the way home, and he really made a point that he was like, to many people, it would mean nothing. But Cody was really happy with that heat race win, and he said that, it doesn't pay. It's not like it's a crazy monetary value of any sort, but he said for himself, it was his second ever heat race win. He keeps track of those in his mind. He brought up, I think, what many people have said before. Knoxville doesn't owe you anything. I mean, it can easily just bite you in the butt. How big is small wins like that for especially a team like Cody's, who is so small that to the normal person watching in the stands, you're like, cool, heat race win. But from your time in a 305 as well, were you like Cody in the fact that even a small heat race when you're like, man, it's just good to get one?
I definitely wasn't as excited as Cody is, which is cool to see. We all kind of get lost in the gratification of it, and it's cool to see him really take that in and experience it and show that off to other people. But yeah, it's I lost my train of thought there.
Racing's hard, man. Like, not anybody can do it, but not everybody can do it, if you know what I'm saying. So, right.
Well,
yeah, like you said, it shows how much it means to everybody that's involved, because people put a lot of hours into these things.
It was gratifying because he started on the front row and he didn't lose it, and he's that's what he said. He's like, if I would have started on the front row and fallen back, I would have felt bad. But he started on the front row, he took off, and he showed speed. And for some guys, that's literally all you need. You just need clean air, and man, you just never know what's going to happen. Josh Jones has had the most roller coaster year I have ever seen, and he comes back this week and he finishes fourth. I'm like, this the mental, roller coaster that has to be racing. It's every single week. It's something new, and I'm happy for Cody. I'm happy for Luke Lane. I should also mention Rob Kubley did not race this past week. You might know maybe a little bit more, Josh. Obviously, Netcode's on the car, but said a couple health issues, but also family. He wanted to be with his family.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't for the life of me think about the name of who was driving his car. I think it was Hunter, but
Hunter Lane.
Hunter Lane, yeah.
Yep.
Who was also from Milo. I didn't know if you had any more about that situation, Josh. But
nope, you nailed it.
Still cool. I mean, Rob has been fast. That 7 car has been good at times this year. And cool for Hunter to be able to jump in the car and do something.
And if I heard it correctly, I think that was his first time back in a sprint car there in 8 years as well. Wow. So we've heard this a lot on the show, as people getting more comfortable, in a new seat. So Mike, that owns the car, that was a lot of what was going on, is just making sure that Hunter was feeling good and didn't look too bad for first time in 8 years. So yeah, was able to roll it back in the trailer, which is most important thing.
Jake Kinder wins your A feature. Pretty much started on the front row and was gone from the outset. The 88 is just so fast. And what's funny is in victory lane, he's like, I think I can get it faster. It's like, dude, you're up 4.5 seconds. Like, how much faster do you need it to be? He's just got no competition right now. I'm excited to see what happens when Matthew Stelzer and Devin Klein come back, whenever Devin Klein comes back, week in and a week out. But Jake Kinder's on one, man, and it's just really cool. I was looking back through the winners, and he was on a heater in 2013, and that's 12 years ago, man. And he's just kind of slowly but surely picked up. He's 4th in all-time wins now. I mean, he's getting there. And if on this pace, I don't know if we have 6 pro sprint races left in the year, but he could tie Matthew Stelzer if eventually here for most wins all time. And it couldn't happen to a better guy. He is one of the nicest guys that you will ever meet. He doesn't really have sponsors. He had all the people in Suite 19 were his sponsor last night. That's what he said in Victory Lane. He's like, I got a sponsor tonight. And he was so happy when I came up. I'm like, you got a sponsor this week? He's like, you can put it down. So that's really cool. Jay's an awesome guy, and I'm happy for him. Casey Fredrickson, first time here this season, goes from 13 to 8 in his first race of the season. He was your hard charger out of Arthur, Iowa. So Good night for pro sprints. We'll jump to your Randall Roofing 360 sprint cars. Jamie Ball runs I believe 16-3. 16-3. Yeah, because it wouldn't be a 15-3. 16-3 in qualifying. He kind of had a good back and forth. Kade, he went out early, and that was the key. And, you're a couple weeks in so far this season, Kade, on qualifying last. How different is it, from last year? Obviously, you guys went middle. 410 went last year, and I talked to Jack Anderson. He's like, I wish 410 went last. He just wants the track to be slicked off. But what's qualifying been like this year? And now you're a couple weeks into it.
It's not really all that much different. The only thing that changes throughout qualifying is if the bottom comes in or not, because it takes so much longer now. Especially like last night, we had some humidity again. So the bottom kind of stayed greasy longer, and it took longer to run in. So that's the only thing that really changes as far as qualifying in a different order. Other than that, it's still go do what you normally do in qualifying, and if it works, it works.
Nothing crazy in the heat races. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill. Calvin Landis picks up a win. Corey Lyson was in the 64 last night. We'll talk about him in the feature. He had quite the night. He picked up a heat race win, and then Dustin Selvage, who I got beef with, apparently. We'll talk about that when Dustin Selvage gets on. But apparently I said Dustin Selvage doesn't run the top or barely ran middle or something like that, and Dustin wasn't very happy. So I promise I ain't trying to go out and get some beef with these guys. But my goodness, I apparently seem to be the brunt of all beef. So
keep it up.
Oh, my gosh. Not ideal, but good job to those guys on their wins. Tasker Phillips, oh, my gosh. I think Giles said it to us either when we interviewed him or off the cuff. How in the world do his car owners watch the night and their blood pressure? We need heart rate monitors on the car owners, not the driver, because Tasker Phillips, that cushion, great segment last night by Mike Roberts and Rylan, our camera guy, showed the cushion, got down and showed it and how thick it was and showed how rough it was up there. Tasker just did not stop running the cushion. And, man, he was going to make it work till the cows come home. And it did not work. But, man, he kept trying, Kade. And you know how hard it is to run the top, but Tasker just did not care.
Yeah, I was kind of in Tasker's same boat, just dumb and stayed up there.
He'll surely come back.
Yeah. Tasker and I kind of both I'm noticing it now more that I race, or noticing it more now that I race with him more. And we both kind of like to live and die by the high side, and it's fun. And yeah, like you said, last night it was super curved up, and it kind of took a sack to run up there. And Tasker's definitely proven that he is not afraid of that thing.
He got up over it during the feature and came back down the track. Unfortunately, got into Logan Alexander. Could have been way worse. Good run for Logan Alexander. Put it in the feature, got through. Didn't even have to go to the B main. Good run for them. Luckily, didn't damage the car really too bad, but got up over it. Just kind of came down at the wrong time. So, yes, it did bite Tasker. It wasn't like he was perfect all night there. Cam Martin got up in the cushion, and it unfortunately took him for a ride. He destroyed the wall, kind of where the gate is in turn number 4. He took both of our cameras down, our Dirt Vision cameras. Thought he had it saved, and then when he went off into turn 1, it did not turn and broke and flipped upside down. It's a tough break for Cam, who had 3 top 10s to start the year, was 4th in points, and unfortunately just a bad night for him. Something just kind of out of his control. And Kade, once you're in it, I mean, you're just along for the ride. Unless you really want to slow down so much and lose all those positions, you're going to have to make some evasive maneuver.
Yeah, and it definitely looked like something broke. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah.
So when you drive it in there and go to rip the lip, if it doesn't turn, you have no choice but to crash.
Yeah.
Which, that really sucks for Cam. Like you said, he's been putting together a lot more consistent year than we've seen him in years prior, which honestly kind of shocked me. He's turned into a hell of a little wheelman, and I hope we get to see him come back and get back into that shape that he was in before.
Can't call him little when he's like 6'5".
Yeah, yeah. He's younger.
He's a youngin'.
Yeah, hopefully
he towers me like no other.
Well, who doesn't? But he didn't make it back out for the 410A main, which sucked to see. So hopefully he can regroup and get to back to full health. Because like you guys said, you guys have said it all. He's looked really good in that car, and just confidence, confidence, confidence. It's a recurring theme that we've heard from everybody on this show, and you just hope that doesn't linger too long.
Our guest, Ryan Giles, started on the pole. Jamie Ball started on his outside. Jamie had him beat by turn one, and I think Ryan says it in our talk. Jamie beat him on turn one. They usually say you can't win a race in turn one, lap one, at least on iRacing. But man, Jamie did beat Ryan on turn one, lap one. Just got a better start than Ryan did and chopped his nose going down into one. And by then, Ryan just played from behind. Got a great restart on the final restart of the night with 4 to go. Got kind of up alongside Jamie's left side. And again, I can't remember if it was just off to the side because we chatted so much away. But, you know, Ryan says, I got some kids at home I got to think about. And he's like, if I was a little bit younger, I maybe would have stayed on that left rear and maybe forced Jamie to go wide in turn number 3 and 4. But he just wanted to back out of it, didn't want to wreck it. And Ryan Giles has a good track record of not tearing up race cars. He definitely talks about that with us. But Jamie Ball gets the win, man. And I think it's great for Jamie. I'm very happy for him. And I think it's just a little bit of relief because it was, you know, his career, 11 wins. And someone's like, man, he's been doing this for a while. He's not really one to put together multiple wins like seasons in a row. You know, he hadn't won before 2022 up to last year. And now he's won now back-to-back years. And I think last year it was just a relief to get back to victory lane. And you just don't know when your next one's going to be. But Jamie ran the bottom all night, Kade, and that was the place to be. We'll talk about in the 410 race as well, but very weird. The bottom was the place to be all night long, right against the berm.
Yeah, and like I said, it kind of took a little bit longer to get that bottom ran in, but even like when it got ran in, it wasn't super easy to run. It still had a little bit of characteristics to it that were kind of hard to get down into the corner good and get a good run through there. So good job for Jamie. And yeah, cool to see him back in Jamie fashion after we talked to him and he kind of explained the issues he's been having with his arm, and you could tell that was definitely hanging him up for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hopefully he's also healthy and he looked good last night. So I am curious though, because Ryan was charging and so was Tasker for that matter too, behind Jamie. I don't know if Jamie was quite the best car there at the end, but the top just wasn't good enough for Ryan to rip it, or even Tasker. I don't know if Ryan would have went up there based on our conversation, but if it was just too long around and you're just going to have to get back to traffic to be able to make something happen, because Ryan did everything but pass him. But like you said, you know, Jamie protected the bottom into 3, and that was all she wrote.
Corey Eliason in the Siding Crayons Racing 64. That's a very small team. Corey hops in a 360 and drives for them this week. I know it wasn't the qualifying effort they wanted. Their heat race obviously started on the front row, led every lap. And then they clearly took a swing at it in the feature, and it worked. Go 17th to 5th. I mean, we don't see that very often in a 360 for somebody to go up that far. Obviously, Kade was stuck in 15th. And, you know, I think, Kade, your car is at even level to that. So I think Corey needed a boost like that. He goes hard charger. Ryan Bickett goes 24th to 16th. I'm glad Ryan's running with us weekly. Obviously, he's the guy that runs up at Huset's, but good run for those guys. And then I think one of the bigger storylines of the night to end us off here for 360s, guys, is Clint Garner is no longer your points leader. Garner, just like Kade, was stuck, and he just could not go anywhere. I think he started 12th, didn't quite have the qualifying / heat race that he wanted. I know he was stuck in his heat race, but just like that, guys, an 11th place finish. He's 77 points behind Jamie Ball.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. One night can either make or break you. And like we've been saying, it's still early. There's still a lot of racing left, but you definitely always want to be the guy in first. I'll promise you that.
Otherwise, it feels like probably death by 1,000 paper cuts when it's someone like Jamie, especially if he can repeat what he did last year. It's just, you know, 1 spot ahead of you, 2 spots. Like, damn, like you can't beat him if you don't beat him on the track.
Well, that's
absolutely.
You know, that's probably what Clint was thinking of all nights, you know, of all nights that you run 11th and all the people that could be winning. It was Jamie Ball. And I think just right.
Seems to always work out that way.
Yeah. What's up with that? Yeah. Might be rigged or something. It's not rigged. It's not rigged. I didn't say it. It's just there's been conversations. I didn't say that. It's not. But man, social media thinks everything at Knoxville is rigged. All right. Let's go to your 410s. We'll talk about never mind. We'll get to it. 410s. Scott Boguski was the first guy all night to move through his heat race. Parker Price Miller, Ryan Timms, and Emerson Axum went +3. Good racy heat races. I talked about it last week, but man, we've had some good heat races this year.
Yeah, 410s, I probably what you were talking about, Kade. The bottom came in a little bit more throughout the night, so I think that helped the 410 guys a lot because they were, I would say, by far the best heat races that we had Saturday.
Corey Eliason, Parker Price Miller, Sawyer Phillips, and Caleb Johnson, all winners in your heat races. My Houston's just turned off. What in the world just happened? Scotty Johnson looped it in. Was this he or B? Excuse me. Scotty Johnson looped in the B and then flipped. I don't know. Obviously, Kade, were you behind? You were behind him. Did the wind catch it? Like, it sure looked weird. Like, he kind of spun and then the front end went up in the air and then it just went. Definitely a weird flip, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, it was super weird. I thought he was just going to spin and just kind of keep like going around and just spin out. And then all of a sudden, like you said, I don't know if the wind caught it or what, or
looked like he gassed it up.
Yeah. The only other thing I can think of is if he got back in the gas and it picked the front end up while he was going kind of backwards. And yeah, I saw him pick the front end up and I was like, oh shit, that's going to hurt. and it looked like it did.
Yeah. Just a tough break for Scotty Johnson. Got out, good spirits. Brian Brown starts on the front row for his third consecutive week. And hang on, let me pull up my thing here. So obviously, again, people weren't happy. Brian Brown starts on the front row for the third straight week. And a lot of people on social media were not happy because they're just like, what in the world, man? Like, what's up with that? And Brian obviously has won now 2 of the last 3. Eric Arnold put a statement out on Facebook, and I'd like to read it because I think it's a very good, just kind of overarching, not statement, but this is from someone that sees all these complaints. So if y'all don't mind, I'm going to read this real quick. So Eric says, the winner of the last heat race draws the invert number, which determines how the starting lineup is shuffled. This has been a long-standing, transparent part of our format designed to keep competition fair and exciting for everyone. If there's a suggestion that our officials, along with a randomly selected driver, are somehow conspiring to place certain drivers up front, I invite you to see the process for yourself. Our track officials work hard to maintain a fair and competitive environment, and their integrity is something we take very seriously. If you or anyone else has doubts, we encourage you to spend a night helping out with race operations. Seeing what goes into running a fair event firsthand can clear up a lot of misconceptions. We're always open to questions and feedback, but we also stand behind the fairness of our process and the dedication of our team. This is literally just Brian Brown has been lucky. That's literally all it is. And a lot of people just don't see it that way. I would love, from my point of view, I would love if we do show it just to say, here's how it's done. And Kade, it's not this crazy fancy process. The heat race winner of the last heat race is handed a cup, aren't they? And it has these little thingies in it, and you just pull it out, and the number that's on it, that's it. It's not that hard. But man, I mean, people don't like when a guy gets lucky and starts on the front row 3 straight weeks in a row.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it was 2 weeks ago I won the heat race. If it was rigged then, I would have pulled the number that put me on the well, I would have pulled the number that put me on the pole. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's definitely not rigged. Just Brown getting really lucky with the invert, and he's definitely not trying to play it right. It's just it's been working out like that.
And if you're at the racetrack, you can see it. If you're eagle-eyed enough, you can see him come down. And I don't know who does it in the official shirt. You can see him walk up. They got a cup of spoons or something. Go right up to the driver, pull them out, and they're on their merry way.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. People are that's just life. That's
everything's
life
a conspiracy, Blake.
Yeah, people will be upset. That's just kind of how it always is. But
it's not a hard concept to figure out.
No, it's not. But I would like to see it shown. I just think it'd be cool.
Yeah,
we don't need some fancy wheel or anything just to show it. Just that's how it's always been, man. And Brownie's just been on the lucky end, and there will be nights when Brownie's not on the lucky end. And guess what? Nobody's gonna say anything about it. That's just kind of how it works. So
no, they'll cheer. That's how it goes.
Well, yeah. We'll do it the first night, and Brownie will figure out what in the world are these people thinking. Kerry Madsen gets upside down in the feature, very hard wreck. He had contact with Carson McCarl, sent him up over the cushion and catches the wall, comes back down the track and gets drilled by Sawyer Phillips. Good to see him walk away. And he walked right to Sawyer Phillips and it just had a little bit of a confrontation. again, I won't really speak a ton on of it because we don't quite know what was said, but Kerry clearly was not happy with Sawyer, whether that be Sawyer, I don't know, Sawyer ran into him. We don't know if Kerry thought it was Sawyer that got into him. We don't really know, but Kerry was not happy. All things considering, Kade, it's good to see Kerry walk away because, man, it was a tough hit.
Yeah, that was a scary crash, and if he is actually bad at Sawyer for whatever reason, I don't understand why. Sawyer really had nowhere to go, and that was scary for Sawyer also. That was a really hard hit. I was standing at our trailer like halfway down the front stretch, and I heard it before I even realized like what was going on. And then by the time they were done crashing, I couldn't even tell that it was Sawyer that hit him. It was that destructive, really. But yeah, glad they both walked away, and it kind of sucks to not see Kerry at Huset's tonight. But yeah, good to see them walk away, and it seems like everybody's okay.
It's been a really tough start to the year for that team. Hopefully him and Tony Vermeer can keep things rolling. Like you said, it sucks that he's not at Huset's. And props to Ayrton Jeniton too. He did a hell of a job missing Kerry, because if Kerry didn't tumble down the track, I think Ayrton was gonna get him. And when you see the cage facing traffic like that, that always makes you really shudder, because yeah, glad Kerry was able to walk away for sure.
And I will say, if I'm correct, there was a big emphasis last year, and especially kind of in this offseason, these tail tanks have to stay on the car. It was a big problem. These tail tanks kept coming off the car. We've seen tail tank hits this season. Kerry has had 2 of them at Knoxville now. Kade, would you say they're doing better? I mean, like, it feels like, obviously they have that double shell, so we're trying not to leak fuel, but something has clearly changed on the safety, and maybe you can help give us more of a deep dive into what is holding that thing together, whether that, because it used to just be a tether, is it not? Or is it still a tether? I'm not sure, but give us a little bit of an insight there on the tail tanks.
The only thing that changed is, and I don't even think, I would have to look at the rules for sure, but I don't think Knoxville mandates having safety wires on your bolts for your tail tank that actually bolt to the frame and and hold the tail tank on the car. And I know the Outlaws have it mandated to where you have to have those safety wired, and I, like I said, I don't believe that Knoxville has it officially required. It's definitely highly recommended, and they definitely are trying to push the issue on that. But that's the only thing that really changed, and I wish you would have said something about it last night when I went down and looked at Kerry's car, because I would have looked to see if there was anything extra that held that tank on. So I don't really know for sure, but yeah, that's the only rule change that that really might be keeping the tail tanks on a little bit better.
Because what's interesting on that topic, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to see if I can find it real quick while we're talking. Kelby Watt, I think after the Outlaw race at Eldora, like his basically had shimmied itself almost through the metal on the mounting point. So it's like, I don't know if it's kind of just luck. I don't know. I don't put these cars together or work on them, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think everybody agrees that, most people would agree that you don't want those things flying. And thankfully we haven't seen the kind of the epidemic that we had a few years ago where couldn't keep them on the cars.
I think Chase Randall's wreck was one of the most important. Him and Carson Macedo's wrecks were the most important wrecks we have seen in the last couple of years. Unfortunately, they've both been at Knoxville, but have really opened people's eyes to not just tail tanks, but safety crews, how you fight these things, drivers. You have that spray. I think there are a lot of drivers still have that spray that they always spray on their fire suits. Not every driver, but most drivers, or some drivers, do. So unfortunately, wrecks like this happen, but obviously we learn a lot from them. And again, just very glad to see both Sawyer and Kerry walk away. It was a very hard hit for Sawyer as well.
Yeah.
So good to see both of them walk away. Ryan Timms, Emerson Axum have a duel in the feature. Just 2 young guys that I think are very similar in how they race, and I think how they are as people. It's very cool to see that. It's great to see Emerson back at Knoxville. And, from your guys' perspective, track was very bottom dominant, but don't tell that to those 2 guys. They were trying everything all night long.
Enjoy getting to see these guys semi-weekly at Knoxville, because you're not going to get to see that very often for very much longer, because I think these are going to be a couple of the national tour stars soon, if they're not already, clearly on their way. It's always fun watching those dudes. Just a couple non-wing guys too that are into the wing car stuff. It was a hell of a show for second. I don't know, Kate, how much of it you got to see, but that track was almost right up your alley by the end of the night. It felt like.
Yeah, for sure. And it was cool to see Axum at the beginning of that race. Like, he kind of just settled into second, and Brown was out in clean air. And next thing you know, as soon as they catch traffic, I thought, damn, this kid's got a shot to win this thing. And then I kind of turned around and quit watching for a little bit. I had a couple people come down to the trailer, and we were kind of talking over our night with the 360. And I turned back around, and I think when I looked the first time, Tim's was in like fifth. And when I turned around, he was in second, and there was only like 2 laps left, and Brown is just right in front of Tim's. And I'm like, who's going to win this thing now? Like, what? Yeah. I missed half the race, but so it was crazy.
It's amazing. It's the track changes so much in a feature. What was happening was all these guys are running the bottom. Well, that started kicking up loose pebbles up to the middle. So then Ryan Timms thought, he's like, well, I'm going to go get this loose stuff. And that's where he was making his money. He was in turn 1 and 2. He wasn't going to the cushion. He was going in the middle. And at first it was like, oh, is there rubber down there? It was like, no, Ryan Timms.
That's exactly what I thought at first too.
I thought for sure. I'm like, gosh, it's rubbering up again. And no, it wasn't. I mean, it was clearly Timms knew what he was looking for and was searching and immediately got to the middle, because that's all I was thinking all that feature. I'm like, someone's going to find it. And all I was thinking was Axum last week. I'm like, if anybody's got a sight for it, I don't doubt Brian Brown's ability to see out in front. But Brownie wasn't leaving the bottom. He only left the bottom once to pass a lap car, and then he went right back down. Yeah, it was very cool to see. And I think if Tim's had 1 or 2 more laps, Brownie wasn't going to go try and get crumbs in the middle. So I think it would have been a really fun finish.
Emerson kept fighting back too. There was a couple times where he got passed for second by Ryan, and it was like, okay, well, that's that. And he would come back and get him again. It's like I said, enjoy battles like that, because you're not going to get to see him this much longer, on a weekly night at Knoxville.
It's really cool to see. Brian Brown gets the victory, 68th career win. He's still got a couple more to go to catch Danny Lazowski, but he ran the Danny Lazowski line, and that's what he said. Danny was on the berm all time, and it was just so weird because you see Brian Brown start on the front row. You're like, I know how this story goes. I thought it was going to be a repeat last week. I'm like, he's going to rip around the top. Nobody's going to be able to touch him. Clearly set the car up different. Brownie said, I'm going to run the bottom, and made it work all night. 2 straight wins for Brian Brown. The last person to win 3 straight was Brian Brown, but I think it was 2017 or 2016. So if anybody can do it, it's Brownie, but looking good. I don't know what the points are. I think Austin is like 50 or 60 back, but it's going to be a duel between those two. Austin had another good run in the top 5. Josh can pull that up here in a second. I'm going to go over our hard charger. Matt Jewell goes 21st to 12th. Good run for Matt Jewell. Car looks great. I told him that. Wrap looks good. I'm glad they got the new wrap on the car. You got points there?
The website is different from the app, so I'm not sure if one is just not updated or not.
Interesting.
I think that's what it is.
I go off the website, I guess, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yep. Cool.
TBD. They'll have it updated probably by Monday when this comes out.
What are we doing? Caleb Johnson goes 12th to 6th and just continues to get faster. I'm obviously biased because we had him on the show, but boy, Dennis Gainey, they're finding something, boys. I got the win at Huset's. We just saw it here. Literally, he's on screen as I'm talking right now. How about that coincidence? You guys can't see it that you're listening, but he is on our Houston screen right now. The 6K is getting fast, guys. And, I mean, for a while, it was like, all right, get that first 410 win at Houston's. But his first 410 win at Knoxville might be closer than we think.
Absolutely. They definitely stepped up their program at Knoxville, and it's really good to see him get wins at Houston's too. I know he's got a pretty good shot to win tonight. He started clear back in the back, or not clear back, I guess. He was
like
mid
10th,
pack,
I think.
but it was crazy. It's good to see him get fast at Knoxville, and they're definitely going to build on that. They're no dummies. They know what they're doing, and they'll just keep getting better. So I look for Caleb, like you said, to get a win at Knoxville this year too, and definitely put a good season together.
It's a great pairing with Gainey and Johnson. Like you can just tell they're growing together, and they could be a scary team to deal with here soon.
Speaking of Houston, I don't know if they're about to get winded out, but they keep showing the American flag. I'm like, I don't know if they're reworking the track or what, but I'm like, we got a race or something. I'll quickly bring on that because we bring up the wind. What was the wind like last night, Kade? Obviously, it wasn't as strong as it was on Friday night for the track run night, but could you feel the wind any different? It died down a little bit as the night went on, but could you feel it? It was going down the front straightaway, and so like you were driving into it on the backstretch. Could you tell any difference?
I didn't notice it.
All right, well, scrap that question. Gee.
But Friday, a lot of people know that I live right across the street from the racetrack, and I heard a rumble outside, and I was like, "What in the hell is that?" So I walked outside, and it was somebody putting heat in the motor for that track rental, and I'm literally standing outside, and there's just leaves and trash and everything blowing down the road, and I said, there's no way in hell I would take my race car there tonight.
Worth noting, Ryan Timms was at that track rental. So,
yep.
I mean, good to get practice laps in. Darren Pittman was also there. Good to see Darren Pittman back. He's never won a race at Knoxville. Would you believe that? That is unbelievable. Crazy.
That should have been your trivia.
It should have been. I don't have trivia tonight. I don't know if you saw that. I have a question for you guys tonight instead of trivia. So I'm excited. It was a good question. I think it's a good one.
Ran out of trick questions.
Last thing we'll touch on for our 410s. We talked about Emerson Axum. Makes a brutal mistake and finishes 5th, but he didn't go to the scales. And you have to go to the scales if you're top 5. John McCoy radios that to all the drivers as they're coming to the green. They're literally on the backstretch. He always says top 5 to the scales, good luck. And the only thing I was thinking about, obviously it stinks for Emerson Axum because a DQ 24th, but what would have paid $2,500 is only $1,000. I mean, he made a $1,500 mistake, and that's just a tough one. I mean, I don't know. We don't know what Emerson was thinking in that moment. If he was just thinking, I just go back. Josh, you said he was heated. I mean, it just seems like maybe he was clouded by something on the track. He fell off a little bit in those final couple laps, but unfortunately for him, emotions just kind of got the best of him, and he loses out on a 5th place finish.
Yeah, like you said, I don't know. I didn't talk to him, so I don't know what exactly happened, but you kind of putting 2 and 2 together. I mean, he was right there on Brown for a while, was battling big time for 2nd, and then you end up 5th. He was pretty animated when he came off the track, and so it could have just been a spot where you're kind of seeing red after, you feel like you maybe pissed it away or something to that effect, and you make an oopsie, and it costs you $1,000, $1,500. It's not great. You ever done that, Kade?
I've gotten pissed off plenty of times, but I've never.
I know that. I've seen that.
Yeah, I get mad sometimes.
I don't think I've ever gotten so pissed that I missed the scales.
It's second nature. I mean, eventually.
It is, honestly. Like you kind of know, and like you said, McCoy, even after the race, he rattles off the car numbers. So he'll say the 88 wins. He'll say 88. Blah, 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 top 5.
Yep.
He'll read all the numbers. He doesn't just say top 5, go to the scales. He individually calls out every car and says, go to the scales. So he definitely heard that.
Interesting.
Whether he actually heard it or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you said, he was very animated. Kind of reminded me a lot of myself when I get angry when he came in the pit area.
Hey, man, I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
That self-reflection. I love it.
But, I mean, it's amazing. It happens more than you think. Donnie Schatz literally made the Nationals last year because the guy missed the scales. So it's like. Yep.
Don't get the rigged talk going again, Blake. We've moved past that. Come on.
I tell you what, we can't get away from this tonight. Oh, my Lord. All right, let's go to our outside of Knoxville recap. We raced on Monday, boys. It's a refreshing thing to see sprint cars on Monday. High Limit was at Kokomo. Love that track. It's a shame the World of Outlaws don't go there because it's quote unquote dangerous, but that's a conversation for another day. Rico Abreu has won for I think the 4th or 5th straight week. Steals it. Highway robbery from Justin Peck. Justin Peck leads every single lap, but he doesn't lead the last one. Kade, it's a simple driver's dilemma. He led the way. I would have done the same thing if I was him. You protect the bottom because you don't want to get slid. Well, sorry, but the top was left open, and Rico just flat out ripped it around him and took the victory. I know Justin was heartbroken, but what else are you supposed to do?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely frustrating, and and Justin had a pretty good interview, I feel like, after the race. And not, I mean, obviously he's down on himself, but you still have to move on from it and still do your job at the end of the day.
Which he did. A little foreshadowing there.
Yep.
But man, I know we were in the group chat after that. You can't help but feel just sick for that, because that's I think it's a 20,000 to win race too, in those midweek deals too. Oh man, yeah, that would suck.
You know, we didn't write it down, but I'm not going to let it pass. Kade, tell us about these watches. What's going on with these watches here? Rico Abreu gets out of the car and as he's like getting out, and Tony Laporta is about to interview him, Rico looks down at his wrist and he's got his watch on, and then he just kind of covers it back up. High limit rules state you cannot wear any sort of watch like that. They come back at Ransomville or wherever they went to race, and Mike Hess says, no watches. If we catch you with it, it's an issue. So then we're kind of like, all right, what in the world happened? We're not bringing back rig conversations. It's not happening. But you're kind of like, man, why in the world didn't they say anything about it? Kade, tell us about the watches. People are convinced that that's driver communication. Like, apparently you can hear buzzes in your wrist or something, or you can feel
you're just driving down the straightaway looking at your wrist, waiting for the instructions, right?
Kade, you were not happy about this in our group chat. Tell us your thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not I don't know if they're actually using it. I mean, they're a hell of a lot better race car drivers than I am, so they might have the know-how and the ability to use it, but it's just a rule, and the rule was broken, and it's not like they made the rule after Rico did it and everybody in the world saw it, because I was not the only guy that saw it, obviously. So it's just kind of odd that the high limit is not sticking to their rules. I mean, it like I said, it was a rule before Rico displayed it in victory lane.
Yeah. Does that tell you that more people are doing it than
yes,
just, and that's why? Yeah, exactly.
And it's the general, like, if you see it, it's for heart. It's for, that's why, you're always tracking it or stuff. You wear a ring, Kade, is that right?
I wear a whoop, a little.
Okay, yeah.
No face.
Yeah, so no face on it.
Nothing.
So I think
Rico's obviously into fitness too. He posts about it all the time too.
I think what got people is it had a massive screen on it. I mean, it's like you don't need to tell the time when you're
the size of Texas.
And I think, it just got people mad. And I'm with you. I mean, if you got a rule, let's stick to it. I got nothing against High Limit. I love watching High Limit. I think Mike Hess is great. Obviously, what he's done as a race director, what Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson have done, it's just like, dang, man, just tough look, I mean,
yeah. At that point, like, if you're gonna do that, why even make it a rule? Yeah. Why not just or dictate it on whoever wins? I guess
it really did just feel to me like, shit, we haven't really been looking at this, and now we have to do something and say something. And I doubt it's going to be a problem the rest of the year.
Right.
Yeah, but it was a giant deal a couple of years ago. I mean, if you look at
Chili Bowl.
when the sprint cars had the million at Eldora.
Oh yeah,
that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had
changed
that
out the
stop
radios
halfway,
too,
and they
right?
changed out the radios, made all the drivers pull their suits up so they could see their wrist. I mean, it's not like it's a new thing, and it's not a new rule. So I definitely had my opinion on that one,
I'm
not afraid to share it.
It's just like you're driving and you're moving, like you're obviously not looking at it during the race. Obviously, if there's red, maybe, but it's just that whole one-way communication thing. There's guys that'll be at the fence during red flag action, being like yelling over to a guy, be like, "Hey, he's running the bottom." That's just how it is. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Thank God we don't have those damn stick signals like they have in late models.
What are they doing over there with those sticks?
Right.
Late model.
Of course, if you're under yellow or red or something and you have that, of course you can look down and see it. But obviously people aren't watching that when they're racing. It's already hard enough to drive in circles as it is.
We're going to start putting GoPros in every car just to watch people in cars, see if they're looking down at their wrist on the straightaway.
This is not going away, though.
I was really hoping that I could win this weekend and just stand up there and try to check the
time. What time is it? Roberts, you got time?
Oh, wait. Mine doesn't have a face on it.
High Limit got rained out at Fremont on Wednesday, got postponed to July 14th. They can't catch a break, man. They just keep getting rained out. They got rained out Saturday at Rome. So tough break for them. World of Outlaws went to Canada. That was really fun to watch, guys. I would love to see a couple more Canada races. I know it's very tough logistically getting stuff across the border. I heard Chase Rodman and Tony Laporta got stopped at Border Patrol as fans. So obviously crossing the border can be rough. But Carson Macedo challenged David Gravel late on a restart. Gravel's just too good, man. That track was so slicked off. It was unbelievable how slicked off it was. Thoughts on that race, guys? And obviously David Gravel being David Gravel.
And didn't take rubber, I don't believe, right? Either night?
No, I don't think so. But man, there was just, you could see yourself in a mirror on the track. I mean, it was just amazing how slicked off it was.
Yeah, it's like Gravel's playing games with them. He like lets them think they have a shot, and then they show a nose, and he just turns it back on again. We've said it a million times on the show that he's obviously the fastest car and arguably the fastest in the country right now. But as far as the Outlaws go, he's definitely the fastest car. And yeah, it's like he waits until he gets pressured, and then he just turns it up to, I don't even think it's 100%. I think it's like 90 at this point, and that's good enough to win him races by a big margin.
If you want to see him at 100%, go back and watch Jacksonville last year when it was him and Larson. Like, that's Gravel at 100% when he's pushing it.
And you're not seeing that very often.
No.
The luxury it is probably to
right.
Yeah, it's just like,
a lot of hard work and time.
The points are an afterthought. I mean, give him the championship. I mean, it's going to take multiple nights for David Gravel to struggle in 30 plus 34, 35 straight top 10s. Like, are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. On Thursday, a different competitor, Connor Morell and Dylan Westbrook started on the front row. Really good run for those guys. Westbrook led early, and then Connor Morell got out front. And again, I mean, you said it, Kade, it just felt like he was kind of toying with him. Like, Morell is struggling in the middle. He's trying everything he can, and Gravel's just sipping his tea on the bottom of the track, and he's just not moving, and Gravel gets around him late. And Connor was emotional in victory lane. He has been through a lot. Obviously, I think that team's in conjunction with Bill Rose. That whole team, the 28 and the 6, they've been so fast this year. They just come up short, and just kind of a tough break. It was interesting. Justin Fiedler had an intro about it, but David Gravel said he gave Connor an ass chewing earlier in the year just for how he was racing, and he was glad that he raced him cleaner and whatnot. And that's just kind of how it is. Do you see that at Knoxville, Kade? We talk about a couple older guys at Knoxville with Ryan Giles, but do we see that a lot on a local level, older guys trying to at least help out the younger guys and let them know when they're out of line, or is it just not a thing at the local level as much?
Not so much, but like when I first started, I definitely had a couple people come down and say, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" and definitely they were not giving me an ass chew, and they were just trying to get me to where I wasn't going to crash them or anybody else or my own stuff. And it was a great help. And I don't know, I mean, it's hard to say. I could see Gravel kind of being a little bit stern about it and maybe doing kind of like you said, just chewing his ass about it. But yeah, it was cool to see Connor Morell get emotional for wanting to win that race that bad. And like you said, it's a pretty small team, and yeah, super cool to see them have that success, and definitely wish I could have seen him beat Gravel. That would have been sweet.
Why has it seemed like half of Gravel's wins this year, he takes it from an underdog? Like Dak Hampton, Eldora. Yeah, it's like if anybody else is like, yeah, and then it's David Gravel, and you're like, man, like you win enough. Yeah. Like,
speaking of Hampton too, he finished 8th and 9th in both races, moved up a lot. That they're rolling right now in the 6 car, and it's cool to see. I think we talked about it last week too, because he was coming off a good run.
Shout out Garrett Williamson as well. Garrett went quick time. Congratulations to the boy. The first ever Knoxville Nights podcast guest to go quick time in a World of Outlaws race. Who'd have thunk?
It was a great week. Great week for our guests.
It was a great week. We choose them well.
I want to start becoming a guest on this show.
Yeah,
there you go.
Ryan Giles might be going to Victory Lane next week. I don't want to call the shots, but man, I'm telling you, good for Garrett Williamson. That Rookie of the Year battle with Chris Windham is going to be insane. very cool to see the Outlaws in Canada. Unfortunately, got rained out tonight at Cornwall Motor Speedway. So yeah, they'll be coming back, and I'm not sure where they go next, but I know the schedule really starts ramping up here as the weeks continue to roll on. So High Limit goes to Ransomville on Friday night, and Justin Peck did not skip a beat. That is 4 straight podium finishes. Justin Peck leads pretty much the whole way. It rubbered up at the end. Aaron Reitzel, who needed a good run, has been struggling for the last couple races, gets him at second. But, man, that's something to keep an eye out for, is Justin Peck getting better and better. And at Ford Engine, man, how about that?
It's not a problem when they're winning. But when they're not winning, how about that point race, too? Brad Sweet's only 29 up on Courtney.
Brad did not have a good night at Ransomville.
It hasn't been a great couple weeks, and Gravel's going to just waltz away with the Outlaw title unless something catastrophic happens with the 2 team. But at least we got a battle with High Limit. Isn't
it weird that Gravel has been so dominant, but then when we talk about the Knoxville Nationals, it's 2 guys. It's Rico and Larson, and Davey Gravel's not really – I mean, he's in the conversation, but he's not right there. Isn't that weird? I mean, that's just – is it the competition that David Gravel is seeing on a night-to-night basis, or Gravel just really – he's been close here the last couple of years at Nationals, but you got 2 guys that are just head and shoulders above the pack.
I would put Gravel right up there with him, though.
I would, too. It seems like when you mentioned –
Larson and Rico have really captured it.
If I went to someone right now, it's like, give me your top 2 favorites for the Nationals, I think almost everybody would say Larson and Rico. So
yeah, Knoxville's kind of its own beast. You hear a lot of drivers talk about it, and that's why it's crazy to me that like when the Outlaws and those guys show up, a lot of times they kind of kick the regular guy's ass, and it's weird to see because Knoxville is so unique that you would think that like a guy that runs it every weekend would have a huge advantage, and the Outlaws just prove why they are the best in the country, and they can just show up and kind of pick on the local guys, and it's very interesting because you see like other local tracks like out in PA, they come to Knoxville and they have a lot of half-mile stuff out there, and they're still just not even close.
Yeah. And you see it to your point too, like you were talking about earlier too, how you have to race your ass off for 15th in an Outlaw race. Look at Zierfoss out in PA now. He's out there winning races. You know, those guys that kind of splinter off and they go and kick the local guys' asses. Noah Gass was tearing it up too. You know, after
Tanner
he went
Holmes
off the tour.
Tanner Holmes, like at California, and that's like one of those things that, like Justin Sanders, I think is one of those that he can really wheel it wherever he goes. But like, yes, you will have those local guys. Brian Brown for many years when the Outlaws would come to Knoxville, and you're just like, oh, this is Brian Brown, like.
You see it with Terry McCarl back in the day too.
Yeah. It's just so different. The sport is changing. Everybody's getting more competitive, and so many more guys are leaving their home tracks and just saying, I have to get better other places. I can't just sit at one place. But we're thankful for the people that do stay at Knoxville and give us good racing every single week. Port Royal, last one we wanted to talk about. We usually don't talk about others, but if there's good racing, we're going to talk about it. Port Royal put on a show last night, boys. That's definitely one of my bucket list tracks. Anthony Macri, one of those guys who was absolutely tearing apart PA, goes from 10th to 1st and beats Garrett Bard by 7 1,000ths of a second. It was so close that Earl Hoon said Garrett Bard won the race when he crossed the start-finish line, when it was actually Anthony Macri. Boy, you want to watch somebody at their craft that is at the top of his game. Anthony Macri is that.
I hope Earl's okay after calling that race, because it was a doozy. I thought
he was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, it sounded like it. Man, and not even mentioning Dietrich. Danny Dietrich was right there too, and it looked like he was going to take it. I saw Twitter light up when I was at Knoxville last night, and I was like, man, I got to catch this. It must have been pretty good. It's like, holy shit. You should go and watch those highlights if you haven't, because it was insane.
Weikert is this week, so keep an eye out. Weikert Memorial is this week. Port Royal. If you're out in Pennsylvania, obviously you're going to be there, but if you're at least around the northeast side of the United States, you got to get up to Port Royal.
Okay, that seems like a track for you. Banging the boards.
Kade, you want to go up and bang the boards at Port Royal?
Yeah, if somebody gives me a ride, I'll go anytime.
Let's talk to Gainey. Get Gainey to pull down one of his 76 cars.
I want to watch the race from the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel is always in the background. I want to watch the race from the Ferris wheel back there. That's always cool. All right, guys, I could not get trivia this week. I just couldn't find anything. My trivia questions have been lacking. So I have a question that I think is decent. I'm still trying to think of my answer. The NASCAR All-Star race was tonight. $1 million on the line at North Wilkesboro Speedway. A dirt guy, Christopher Bell, got the win. I just did see that. Obviously, we ran the million at Eldora. They've run millions before. But if we ran a yearly $1 million race in the country, everybody could race. You can't choose Knoxville and you can't choose Eldora. Where would you want the $1 million race to be?
You go, Kade.
He's still thinking.
I'm stewing.
I'm still kind of
right.
thinking. I mean, like,
I wasn't going to pick Knoxville because, and that was regardless of your rules that you put out.
yeah.
I can't pick just one, but I want it to be on a short, like, quarter mile.
That's what I was also. Would you want it to be a bull ring? You know,
yes.
Like
something like Jacksonville. That place just like
that was the first thing that came to my brain was Jacksonville or Peevely or. Yeah. Honestly, I think if they got the track right, US 36 would be one badass racetrack to have for $1 million.
I'm gonna say Eagle.
Eagle would be good too.
I think Eagle put on an unreal high limit show last year and always puts on high limit or great shows. I would love to see it at Eagle. The late models there this past week were unbelievable.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Dude, like Ricky Thornton and Davenport. Oh my gosh, that was so fun to watch. So I'll go Eagle. But I also have a couple honorable mentions if you guys want to go through yours.
I mean, honestly, Kokomo is a badass place too, and the wing car, like they put on some badass races. Yeah. It's hard to pick.
Skagit, I think Skagit or Silver Dollar. I'd lean Skagit just a little bit more because you can really bang the boards. There's no boards at Silver Dollar, but I like a bull ring that you can do that. Like you can bang the boards and really, like you said, Jacksonville. Very good.
What was the track that I think it was during COVID? I can't remember. I think it was up north when Larson beat Logan after like driving through the infield, and Larson was just driving his ass off, and that place was just so awesome. I can't remember which track it was.
But he drove off the end of the racetrack and then
took out a quad and
yeah.
So Josh, you said, what'd you say for yours?
I didn't. We'll go with Kokomo. That's easy.
Okay, Kokomo. And Kade, you're rolling with 36?
Yeah. US 36. Or honestly, I think Placerville would put on a hell of a show too. You get one of them 6 foot tall curbs to lean on and no wall. It gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Placerville is one of my favorite tracks to watch, and I really wish I could get out there and race it one time and see if I could make it through without junking my shit.
Yeah, I'd go Eagle, and then honorable mention, I'd go Skagit, and then I-55. I think I-55 would put on a good show. But I'm glad we agreed bull rings. Nothing against the half miles. Obviously, we love Knoxville, but you just like sometimes just engine power, and that's really what wins you the race. And it's good to just see the smaller guys get in on it.
That's exactly where my head went to.
Yeah. So if we get an all-star race, I hope we get royalties because we kicked off this idea. You know, we'll let it run, and so that's really cool. All right, boys, it's time to transition. We had Ryan Giles on the podcast this week, a 2019 Knoxville 360 Nationals prelim night champion, several Rookie of the Year honors in both 410 and 360 competition, a 10-time winner at the Knoxville Raceway. Had a chance to sit down with Ryan Giles. Let's jump right into that interview right now. Ryan Giles joins us here on the Knoxville Nights podcast. Ryan, we appreciate you for joining us. Good to have you on for a couple weeks here. We've been trying to get a couple more 360 drivers that have been racing with Kade, trying to get a lot more guys at Knoxville, and you are a well-seasoned veteran here at the Knoxville Raceway. Let's talk about, Ryan, what you did here last night as we record this here on Sunday. Qualified second, good qualifying effort for you guys. You go from 6th to 4th in your heat race, and you go from 1st to 2nd in the A main, just come up just short, but it's your best finish of the season. Give us a recap of how your night went, Ryan, and then how you're feeling about the season so far.
Yeah, finally got things pointed in the right direction here the last couple weeks. I feel like, we're last year in kind of unfamiliar territory, getting in Matt's stuff and started off strong and would have, moments of hope and, good runs, but really just never found that comfort feeling that we needed. And the last couple of weeks, we just really kind of buckled down, and Matt's come up with some ideas and and just kind of put together some of his stuff with what I was really familiar with doing my own deal. And it's really kind of clicked. And it's like I just tell him every week. I was like, I kind of feel like we're home, and then we build on it. And the big thing at Knoxville, everybody knows, is the qualifying, and it kind of sets up your whole night. And to click one off last night and go in second, that's I think our best qualifying effort since we set a quick time last year, and that's just huge. It stinks to start on the pole of a feature and not take it home, but we were kind of chatting earlier here before we got started, but it was, I kind of felt like it was going to be a race to turn one, and Jamie kind of got that handled, and I don't know that we didn't have the best car there. I think we did, or we're in the mix of things, but it feels good to be back in the mix for sure. It's a big boost of confidence.
Very and cool. Speaking of confidence too, I mean, you've seen you raced against Matt for years, and we've all seen what that 2M has done in both classes, really. How does that help the confidence? I know that, like you said, it's kind of been a little bit of a learning process here in year two with Matt now. Is that kind of a communication thing that you guys are kind of figuring out how to communicate a little bit better to get things going with the car this year, and might be helping with the good start?
Yeah, Matt will probably tell you communication with me is tough because I'm not a big long for words, and Matt, like we were just talking earlier too. I say it gets curry, and Matt's always like excited. He's like, "Oh, good, let's go." I love that, and I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I'm I'm not. That's not my deal. So it's just kind of figuring out. He obviously was very successful in his career as a driver. But we are polar opposites, and then Davey Heskin, and I don't think there's anybody at Knoxville that can run the bottom the way Davey did it. So at least he knew what it's like to kind of have a little bit of a bottom feeder there, but we did things our own way, and my career's taken a couple different turns. I went from, doing stuff with family to being an owner driver to driving for other people, and then back to owner driver. And then, I thought I was done. And then Matt called and says, "Hey, let's, do you want to still drive? Like, let's do something." And, and then that was last year. And, you get in some of those situations where it's, it's not successful or whatever. And it's, it beats you up. This is such a mental game, and and you get in some of these deals where it's you're the problem and the root cause of every problem. It really screws with your head, and it's kind of like you get in the car and you second guess everything you do and every move you make, or am I allowed to qualify in the bottom this week, or can I even run the bottom anymore? It's it takes a lot to get that confidence back, and I feel like we're back in the kind of a good, for me personally, a good headspace, a good I feel confident again, and the car's doing what it's supposed to. I don't have to worry about what Matt's doing, or or not questioning everything, or second guessing stuff. Stuff's right when we get there, and I feel like personally, like I'm kind of back, and I think it's only going to look up from here.
Yeah, really cool. Your last win was 2021. So you're getting close. We're getting close, getting you back here to victory lane. That was over, Boguski and Ball and Moro. You guys are getting better every single week. What are your results here? 14th, 8th, 4th, and now 2nd. So you're getting there closer. I've heard so many times these drivers that break these streaks of just not getting to victory lane, they just kind of sit there and they're like, man, you just wonder if you can do it anymore. How do you keep out of that mental headspace, and how's that confidence building here to start the season as you get more comfortable with Matt? And obviously the run last night, just as well, gives you good confidence here as the weeks continue to roll on.
Yeah, absolutely. The best thing you can do is just get yourself around good people who believe in you and support you, and have the same end goal as you. And that's where we're at with Matt. We're doing this for fun. I got a full-time job. I'm a mechanical engineer. I got 4 kids and a wife. I don't do this for money. I don't do it for a paycheck. I'm doing it for fun. And, Matt's given me a helping opportunity, and Tara and Macy and, all of them, that they welcome us, with open arms. My boy comes every week, Jackson, and, it's a family deal, and it kind of feels like I'm just doing it again with, my family deal. And that just getting comfortable and communication and all that's key as a driver for um, getting the confidence and whatnot going.
So you kind of talk about owning your own family team and kind of running that. I know you haven't always been a sprint car guy. Kind of talk about your roots before sprint cars, and talk about what got you into racing sprint cars to begin with.
Yeah, so it was I started out, I guess, 20 years ago now in modifieds. I got my first race cars from Ryan Gustin, who's out, I guess, on the World Outlaw Late Model Tour now, tearing it up there with Todd Cooney and them. But we did that, raced around the fairgrounds, Webster City, and it's kind of one of those deals where we got, I guess, kind of stagnant. It was fun, but it felt like kind of a chore a little bit. And we were either going to make an investment into the late model world and get serious about that, or get out. And then it just, honest to God, it was a wild hair. I could tell you where we were at. Driving home from work is my older brother, my dad, and I, and he just goes, "Well, what do you think about sprint cars?" I'm like, "I've always thought that those guys are crazy. Like, I never really considered it. Like, what makes you ask?" And he's like, "Well, I think if we're going to look at the late model stuff, we should look into the sprint car stuff." And at the time, my dad had been helping Terry McCarl on and off, sponsorship wise, and we went out and met with Austin and Terry and just kind of looked things over and sat in one for the first time. And we went to Volusia that year. I don't know when it was, 2014 or 15. And, of course, it was a work trip because we were making engine dynos at the time. And that was kind of where it all started. We met a guy down there, Gary Isom, was helping Terry out, met him. He wound up coming to work for my dad and just really kind of tutored me and took me in, and he'd go to the races when he could, but he's kind of taught me everything I know. It just kind of snowballed from there. It was just going over the old railroad track bridge on I-80 and just a wild hair. Like, what do you think about this? And here we are.
That's awesome. Dovetailing into that, I guess, who were some of you might not just have sprint car guys, so who were some of the drivers when you were growing up that you kind of looked up to, maybe idolized a little bit, wanted to be like, and then did you ever get to race against any of them, and how was that?
Yeah, so I remember going to the fairgrounds when I was a kid. We'd go down there every, randomly Friday nights with my dad. Daryl DeFrance was always, the big late model star then, always standing up against his yellow trailer there with the old the Ford box truck, drinking a Busch Light, and every time he walked, he didn't know who I was. I didn't know. He would just, "How you guys doing?" This, "Hey," or whatever. And he actually kind of took me in, and my first late model was actually one of his old cars, and we got to race with him in that. And ironically enough, when we did take the plunge from modifieds to late models, that was about the same time that Tony Morrow was getting out of late model racing. So we bought all of his engines and cars, and that was kind of how I got started. I remember Matt and Tony spent like a day just running trailer loads of stuff over into this warehouse, and we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, but about the same deal as the sprint car thing. And it's just kind of funny how it's come full circle.
Yeah, for sure. Who was your sprint car guy that you I guess looked up to, or did you have one?
I honestly didn't have one. It was, the names like, Danny Osowski or, Steve Kinzer, those guys, Sammy. But that was never really my world until it became, my world. And like I said, that was just a freak thing. That was never a path I saw myself going down.
Going back to Matt Moro, how did you get in this ride that you're currently in here, Ryan?
Yeah, so we it was kind of my second shot at, owner driver. We had, really good support from Dennis Abaugh and Don Lamberti with Iowa Barnstormers and Abaugh, your alternative. Um, but yeah, so it kind of, we were in the 410 deal, and that, took its turn, and then we started up our 360 thing. Dennis wanted a 360 guy there, and, he and Don were generous enough to kind of help, get that going, and had that going for a year and a half, and they were going to take a different direction and really trying to stick behind Chase Randall, and I couldn't put it together with my family situation and work and everything going on, and they were understanding of that, and so Matt, I had a mule, and he called me one day and he's like, "Hey, you want to sell that thing?" And so he wound up buying it from me, and when 2 weeks later he calls me and I'm like, shoot, something's wrong, battery's dead, or he thinks I screwed him on something. And he's like, "Do you still want to race?" And I said, "Well, I'd love to, but I just can't do it on my own anymore. I don't think we had baby number 4 on the way at that point, but it's possible we did it. They all kind of blend together once you get above 3. Um, but yeah, we just got to talking, and he's like, "Well, just come out, we'll talk." And it just sort of fell together, just by happenstance. I wasn't out looking. I don't think he was necessarily looking, and it just worked out.
Speaking of,
go ahead.
oh yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Kate.
You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, touching on Albaugh, Dennis Albaugh is on quite a few cars nowadays, and he was, like you said, on your 9 car, and is obviously on the 2Ms. How much, how big of a difference has he played in both just your career separate from Matt, his impact now with the 2M cars, and how cool was it to kind of be maybe a small part of the grand opening of that Dennis Albaugh Sweet Tower out of turn 3 or turn 2?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's cool. And the deal with Dennis has always kind of come about at the right time. I feel like I was driving Matt Allen's car when he first got involved, and it, it was just, I don't know how I got hooked up with them. They just had reached out to me, and um, I didn't even know if it was a real deal at first. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting down at Dennis's office talking to him, and we put together a deal to finish the year out. And then that carried on over into trying the 410 deal out the following year, which then turned into me trying to start a team up, and we were kind of, and then we had a year off my first year with Matt, and then it's kind of come full circle again. With Dennis jumping on board and helping Matt Moro and myself and JJ, and then the Sweet Tower thing, that was cool. Matt called me, I think, Thursday night, and he said, "Hey, can you come down and Dennis wants to do a picture." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. When are you thinking? 4 or 5 o'clock, I got to work." And he's like, "Well, can you be here at 2?" I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah. How do you say no? And Carson Macedo had helped put that deal together, and it was just such a cool thing to be a part of. And I feel like I'm just the little guy in the mix, and I'm very fortunate to be here. I don't know how I got in this situation, but so thankful for it. And it's just weird how it's came at the right time with Matt Allen to keep us going, and then get my own thing going again, and then like I said, we kind of had a little lull there and a little break, and then now it's back, and it's just we've really kicked off and started things off in the right direction this year.
What you got,
As
Kate?
you talk about Dennis supporting both cars, that kind of leads us into another question. Having JJ there, does that help you at all, and kind of explain, if it does help, like kind of the factors that go into what actually helps you out in the 360 class?
Yeah, I mean, I try and steer clear of that a little bit. I know, JJ and I are in different situations. He's doing this for a living, and like I said, I work. I'll be at work tomorrow morning, and more than likely not on time, but I'll be there. And it's so they kind of do their deal. He's got his guy helping him, and and Joanne, and we've kind of divvied up the the Meninga boys, and there's a handful of people that are Jeff and Braden Grubo help out on my car, and then everybody else really kind of focuses on JJ's. But like last week we had motor trouble and wound up having to change one after the heat race there, and it's like I told Matt, got back and JJ's pushing us, and man, I kind of feel like he's like the nephew or niece that nobody really wanted at Christmas or something. Nobody's talked to him, nobody's helped him work on the car. And thank God he had Joanne and I'm terrible with names. It's either Blake or Bryce. I'm horrible. I should know, but they kept things going for him. But then it's kind of like I feel like, man, I'm a burden on his program or whatever. But I think it's good, in a sense for me, because there's enough to do that I'm not sitting there overthinking it or bouncing too many ideas off of Matt, because he's trying to keep both cars going, and it gives me time to just sort of watch and relay, or we get feedback from him of what's going on or what the track's doing or whatnot. But so far it's been kind of just it's been nice in the sense that it's kind of a little bit of a breather, except when I steal all the help from him. So.
You're a 10-time 360 winner at Knoxville. That's not bad for someone that does this for fun. Standout win would be obviously your first one, and then you're a prelim night winner for the 360 Knoxville Nationals back in 2019. Let's talk about the first win first. What do you remember from it? What was it like? What were the emotions like finally pulling into victory lane? And then talk about that 360 Nationals win as well.
Yeah, both of them were kind of an emotional roller coaster. Honestly, the first one was an outlaw show in April there. I think it was my third night in a sprint car. First night we'd qualified at, well enough to be in the invert. Don't recall anything from the heat race, but it rained, and I don't even know what time we got on the track, but I think we started on the pole. I had no clue what I was doing. Somehow I wound up with the wing all the way in the back on a hammer down, lockdown racetrack. And I'm like, I can't drive this. Like, I have no idea what's going on. And we got a red flag, I think. So Tony Schilling and Nate Van Haften, they got together right in front of me, and both of them took a tumble. So I was back out in front, and ironically, again, as Terry McCarl comes up and he's like, "What are you doing? Your wing's in the back. Put it in the front." So I'm like, "All right." So we fire back off. I shove it forward. We won, but then I think Donnie Schatz might have won that night too. But the 410 feature got cut short because by the time the rain, there was so much humidity, it was so foggy you couldn't see. So it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. But my dad, who kind of put this, it was his crazy idea, was on a business trip in Germany, so he went to bed watching things, and we got to go, and then we had the rain delay, and he woke up, got a full night's sleep, woke up, and then watched us win the feature from Germany. So
those nights will never happen again at Knoxville.
yeah. Like, that's what I always go back to. I'm like, man, when they talk about a rain delay or something, I'm like, God, I'm 35 years old now. I can't come and stay up until 4 o'clock racing. Like, I have to get a nap. But yeah, and then the prelim night, that was a cool deal. I think we qualified, mid pack, whatever, did what we had to do in the heat race, and then got lucky enough. I think we started on the pole that one, but I know we had Reitzel was there, but that one had God, I don't know how many times we restarted that thing with like 3 laps to go, and then I get to the white flag. Like, I celebrated that win like 5 times before I actually got it. Yeah, that was a wild one too, because that was I think when my wife was pregnant with my daughter Nora, and she went up in the hospital that day, and so I'm at work. She's like, they told me I got to go to the ER or what, I don't know what, she dehydrated or migraines or something. I sound like a terrible husband not knowing what the issue was, but I'm like, I don't even know if I should be going to the races right now. And she's like, no, you need to go. Like, I'll be fine, whatever. And so, that's in the back of your head all night. And then you get put on the front row, and then you got 5 restarts with Aaron Reitzel, who's, clearly still one of the best drivers in the country. And you win the race 5 times before it's finally official or whatever it feels like. And so that was a cool one. That was I don't think that one really sank in. And we were over at my in-laws one day, and I think it was MAV TV. I don't know if they even still have that. I don't have TV now. they showed the replay of it, and they did just a quick little blurb about, my wife had the daughter or whatever, and everybody's happy and healthy. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. Like that whole story, made it that far. So, like you said, when you do this for fun, you don't. I don't me like I'm a pretty reserved guy. You don't see yourself on that spectrum, and then it kind of puts it all in perspective, I guess. That this is a pretty neat thing that we're fortunate enough to be able to go do every week, and even for me, just call it doing it for fun. So
To add on to that too, for doing it just for fun and all of that, you talk about being on the spectrum of some pretty good drivers. You have more wins than all but 16 drivers in a 360 in 42 years at Knoxville. What's that feel like? And did you even know that? And you're still going at it. So what's that mean to you?
yeah. So to answer one of your questions, no, I had no clue.
Well, now you know.
You might be surprised. I'm pretty disconnected. It's actually what goes back to a conversation I had with Matt Moro. There's like, I think we'd had 4 or 5 quick times in a row, and he called me out of the blue one day. I'm like, what's Matt want? Like, I don't ever talk. This is, early on in my career. It's like, there's a lot of talk about tire doping, and you're the center of the conversation. I'm like, what? Like, what's this got to do with anything with me? But yeah, holy shit, I totally lost track of what we were talking about. We're going to have to restart that one.
You're in the upper echelon of wins.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's that feel like?
Yes, no, I had no idea. Just to even be talked about is neat, They had something at the banquet. Like, we've got, I don't know how many top fives. I think the first year I got 14th, and then I think I've been in the top 5 in points every year, and it was like, third or fourth, I think was the stat on that. And honestly, that's the only stat I've heard regarding my career, and it was just I just kind of caught the blurb there at the banquet that that was a thing. So it's neat. But that's what I was saying. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but yeah. So he called me and he's telling me about this, and I'm like, man. It's like, I don't know how you guys do this, Matt. I said, I race, and then, I wash cars up on Sunday, and then it's done, and I go to work Monday, and then I race again on Saturday. So, like, these, to talk about this and, come up with these ideas, tire scandal, whatever. Like, I don't know how these guys got time to do with it, because then I go to work, and I got a family, and then I, work on the car, and it was, it just kind of, and, he's like, well, I mean, you don't like, talk to people during the week, or you don't? I'm like, no, I don't even talk to people when I'm in public. So no, no, I had no clue. That's a cool stat. It's neat.
I know you kind of talked about being a bottom feeder. I've seen you rip the lip too. I've been behind you a couple of times when you're up there letting it rip. Talk about your ideal track surface as a driver.
My ideal track surface would be Saturday night. Something,
night.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we've kind of missed it a little bit. I think you go at the beginning of the year, you always get kind of an extreme, and the Duncans do a great job with the track. It's never like you're going Baja and bouncing through holes or whatever. But I'm not a big curb guy. I've done it, yes. That's what I was talking earlier, that Matt loves it, and I'm like, man, that's just not my thing, and never the 2M, he used to just go flying by when I'm like, there's no way anybody could be up there. And then here's Matt just driving right by on the outside. But something where you can, a top where it's not curby, there's a couple grooves, or, a bottom where you got a lane up off the bottom, or something where you can get kind of technical, not everybody can hit it. But just, I love the bottom, slow it down, make it where you can't just bonsai it. Last night was kind of fast, as the temperature dropped and everything, it kind of, I think, came back to us. But, I don't think the top was really that dominant. And as long as the top's not dominant, I'm happy.
The point standings right now are what it was last year. Jamie Ball, Clinton Garner, and yourself, you said you've been very consistent. It's got to feel pretty good, though. Those are three quote-unquote old guys at the top of the standings there. What's it like hanging with those guys and knowing that you have to be consistent every single week and that you guys have set the standard and that you're just one of the old guys now, but you still got it. You're still beating all these young guns behind you.
Yeah. I'm just glad I can still do it. You know, you got Kade and you know, Tyler Gronendike's coming in now from the 305s, and I guess you could consider him one of the old guys because he's probably the same age as I am. But you know, we had Chase Randall and Garrett Williamson for a while, and you know, Caleb I think was in there too. But just to be able to do it and you know be consistent, you know, I think consistency is the big thing with the points deal, and I've been fortunate, you know, throughout my career to not have, you know, many engine failures or, you know, not tear up equipment and whatnot. And, you know, that's something that I'm really proud of. You know, somebody was talking to me, I don't remember who it was, but I was talking to Dennis when we were in the Sweet Tower thing about how many cars we've been through or whatever. And I said, well, I've never had to build a spare car to finish a year. In all the years I've done this. So that's something that I'm proud of. And I think that's key in the points thing. I've been 7 laps away from a championship, and that was the big push. Was my wife said, when Matt called, she's like, "Well, you really want to just be done?" Because I'd said at that point, you know, it's time to step away and focus on the family and kids. And she goes, "Well, you got a good opportunity, and do you always want to be 7 laps away?" I'm like, "Well, no. Now you say that, we got to give it another shot." So. Just with the young talent and everybody coming up, I'm just fortunate to still be there.
It's cool. It sounds like you got a good support system, and we all know that the kind of guy, not even a talking team owner that Matt is, but on top of that too, gives a great opportunity for this year. And who knows what the future holds. What do your 2025 plans look like? Are you just sticking to Knoxville? Do you guys plan on doing any hit and miss stuff? Anything in the 410 potentially, or what's it look like this year?
Yeah, we're for sure going to stick to Knoxville, and then kind of around 410 Nationals. You know, we're obviously with Davey drove this car before I did, and you know, Butch Maxwell still got a 410 sitting there. So he says anytime we want to run that or for Nationals that we can do that. So I'd like to run the Nationals. We'll see if we can get some seat time, but that's such a tough deal to jump in and you know, be competitive or not be in the way, or you know, I just don't have enough laps in a 410 or a 410 car that I've been comfortable in to feel like I'm ready to do that, because the last thing I want to do, you know, those guys are out there. I mean, that could make or break somebody's, you know, year or 2 or 3 years, you know, and I don't want to be the guy that's out of place and takes that away from somebody. So if we get time to get some laps, we'll certainly do that. But you know, I'm kind of re-energized and really focused on the 360 thing. And like I said earlier, you're not really in a good place. You know, I think, you know, mentally as a driver and confident again. And you know, I've kind of got over all the hiccups and bumps in the road that we've been through. And I really want to try and get this championship knocked off. I know a 14th and an 8th to start the year doesn't really help you out with that, but it's early to start nitpicking points, but that's the focus. And if we can get some 410 stuff sprinkled in, then we'll do it.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate your time here with us tonight. Again, congrats on the podium here to start or get going here on the season. You're continuing to rack up the points, currently sitting 3rd in points, and we wish you the best of luck, man. You're fun to watch, and that win's going to be coming here again very shortly. And we appreciate you coming on and chat with us tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on. And so did the points update? I thought they didn't. So we jumped up to 3rd.
I think you're still in 3rd. Yeah.
Yep. I saw 3rd. What, like
I wasn't sure if we got snuck
out,
past,
I think is what I saw.
Tyler. So that's cool. But
Yep.
Nice. So that's just
you're moving, man. Don't doubt it. You're moving.
We're headed the right way. So
there you go.
I just got to knock the winter weight off earlier. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. You know, and appreciate, you know, Matt and, you know, like I said, Tara Macy for giving me the opportunity, and you know, everybody, you know, all your alternative and Dennis and Don Lamberti's back with the Auto Barnstormers again, and all the great people that have helped. Matt and Barron Equipment, all the guys that have been with me forever and stayed on. So maybe we'll get back together here at the end of the year after we've finally knocked the championship off and chat about it.
Let's do it.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Good luck the
All
rest
right,
of the year.
thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, that was a fun episode, fun chat with Ryan Giles. Big thanks to him, and good luck to him and the Matt Moro Racing 2Ms, him and JJ Hickle both. Wouldn't be surprised if not one, but both of those guys are in victory lane by the end of this year. But that'll wrap it up, guys. It's we're just clicking these things right off now. We're going to be at Nationals before we know it. But thanks for for listening and watching, guys. We do have Denison Racing Tees and Jersey Freeze night. It's going to be round 5. Yeah, yes. No, get your ice cream on Saturdays.
I love Lynn. I love Deb. Man, those are good people.
get yourself, and they usually have some. So they
will have ice cream. Lynn will have ice cream at the track. He'll bring his own. I think he'll set up his van and whatnot. And then Deb is just every week there's something new at Denison Racing Tees. So go and check it out. Go check both of them out. They're both great people, and I love sponsor nights, man. They're awesome.
I'll have to see how much ice cream I can go back and get before they realize that hey, you've been here 6 times already.
It'd be worth getting in trouble for it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's going to be on the Saturday, the 24th. If you can't make it, of course, make sure you tune in on Dirt Vision. It will be live. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Hit subscribe on all of your podcast platforms. Check us out on YouTube as well at Knoxville Nights. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well at Knoxville Nights with no O on Twitter. And then I'm at Josh_Gerlach. Kade is at Kade Higday, and Blake is at Blake_Walker8. Give us a follow. We send out some stupid stuff sometimes, but you like it. Otherwise, we will be right back here with somebody. Keep an eye on the socials. We'll let you know as soon as we have that booked. But appreciate you watching and listening. Have a good one.